What's the single most valuable currency in business? It's not money, it's trust. And that trust is built or destroyed by how professionally you conduct yourself every single day. I've seen brilliant entrepreneurs with incredible products fail because they couldn't master the fundamentals of professional behavior. And I've watched seemingly average businesses thrive because their leaders carried themselves with professionalism in every interaction. I'm going to break down exactly what that means for you. We'll look at the 5 essential pillars of professional behavior that separate successful business leaders from everyone else. We'll explore how ethics forms your foundation, why reliability creates your reputation, how competence builds your authority, the way communication shapes your relationships, and how teamwork multiplies your impact. By the end, you'll have a clear blueprint for transforming how others perceive you in business. Let's start with the non-negotiable foundation: ethics and integrity. Many people think professionalism is about appearances and dressing well or having a polished LinkedIn profile. But true professionalism starts much deeper, with your moral compass. Unfortunately, it's a story that I see play out quite often, from self-employed individuals to small business owners, all the way through larger corporations. And if you're thinking along the lines of embezzlement or big things like that, it's much simpler. Ethical decision-making requires good judgment and discretion. This means understanding when information should remain confidential, when feedback should be private versus public, and how to handle situations where values may conflict. Professionals who excel here don't just know right from wrong in obvious cases, they navigate complex situations with consistency and fairness, treating everyone from entry-level staff to top clients with the same fundamental respect. I've seen otherwise capable business owners sharing confidential information carelessly or airing grievances in inappropriate forums. There are people who cut corners, ethically speaking, such as taking credit for others' work or inflating results to clients and making promises they know they could never deliver. Then one client compares notes with another, or someone finds some sort of discrepancy, and the whole house of cards collapses. The business doesn't just suffer, it sometimes vanishes completely along with that person's reputation. To be ethical is to be consistent between your values and your actions. When you promise a client delivery by Friday, integrity means you've actually assessed if that's realistic rather than just saying what they want to hear. You give proper credit to team members who contribute to ideas rather than positioning yourself as the sole innovator. You are transparent about limitations instead of overselling capabilities. The truth is that no amount of skill or charm can compensate for compromised ethics. When you operate with integrity, that's making decisions that align with your values even when no one's watching, you build a foundation that can weather any business storm. You need to ask yourself whether your decisions are guided by what's expedient or whether it's by what's right. Do I keep my word even when it becomes inconvenient? These aren't just moral questions, they're business ones that determine whether you'll gain a temporary advantage or build lasting success. The second pillar is dependability and accountability. In other words, can people count on you? Nothing loses your credibility faster than unreliability. When you consistently deliver what you promise when you promise it, you differentiate yourself in a world where many will talk big but follow through small. Accountability takes reliability a step further. It's not just doing what you say you'll do, it's taking ownership when things inevitably go wrong. Rather than deflecting blame or making excuses, professional people acknowledge mistakes, learn from them, and make things right. This builds upon your integrity, which we've just spoken about. When you respond to setbacks with accountability, rather than finger pointing, you transform challenges into opportunities to strengthen relationships. What's fascinating about dependability is how it creates compound interest on your professional reputation. Each kept promise builds on the previous one, while each broken commitment requires multiple positive actions to restore trust. The professionals who understand this principle invest in consistency rather than occasional heroics. True reliability isn't just meeting deadlines, but is reflected in every interaction, such as responding to messages within a reasonable time frame, arriving prepared for meetings and following through on the small commitments that others might overlook. These seemingly minor actions compound over time to form your professional reputation. The dependable professional isn't just someone who occasionally delivers big projects on time, they're someone whose word carries weight in everything they do. This connects directly to how you manage time, both yours and others. Being late for meetings, missing deadlines, and constantly scrambling to finish things at the last minute. These may seem minor, but they send a powerful message about how little you value other people's time. In my experience, chronically late professionals often fail to recognize how quickly this erodes trust. It's often overlooked, and yet it matters so much more than you think. In fact, I have a dedicated video just on this, which goes into the costs of not honoring your commitments and how it negatively affects your professional relationships and reputation, with specific techniques you can use to immediately overcome this bad habit. The third pillar is competence and growth. Ethics and reliability are essential, but they're not enough if you lack the skills to deliver results. True professionals commit to mastering their craft and to continuously improve their capabilities. I've noticed that struggling entrepreneurs often fall into one of two traps related to competence. The first is overconfidence, believing they don't need to improve or learn new skills. I've coached business owners who refuse to stay abreast of recent developments in their field because they were the best at what they do, or too busy, only to start losing market share as their competitors evolve and adapt. The second trap is perfectionism, refusing to act until you feel absolutely ready. These entrepreneurs often get stuck in perpetual preparation, but never actually implementing things out of fear of getting some of it wrong. I have a video just on this as well, where we look at the critical balance between planning and execution. Competence isn't knowing everything, but rather having the core skills your role demands, recognizing the limits of your knowledge, and knowing when to seek help or to delegate. This requires honest self-assessment. Can you truly deliver what you're promising? Where are the gaps in your skill set? The professional doesn't pretend expertise they don't have. They're clear about what they can do exceptionally well, what they can do adequately, and where they need support. Technical proficiency forms the foundation, but it's your approach to that expertise that sets you apart. Are you applying your knowledge thoughtfully to each unique situation, or are you using cookie-cutter solutions? Are you keeping your methods current, or are you relying on outdated approaches because they're comfortable or convenient? These questions separate those who merely have skills from those who apply them professionally. What distinguishes truly professional competence is the growth mindset that accompanies it. The business landscape is constantly evolving, and professionals who succeed long-term embrace continuous learning. They don't just update skills when forced to, they proactively seek new knowledge, test new approaches, and refine their capabilities before circumstances demand it. As a professional, you need to continuously develop your skills while having the confidence to apply what you know, even as you grow. The fourth pillar is communication and interpersonal conduct. How you communicate shapes how others perceive your professionalism, perhaps more than any other factor. Whether that's verbal communication, in writing, through body language, or as a result of your actions. Professional communication starts with clarity and expressing ideas in ways others can easily understand without using unnecessary complexity or jargon. And it's as much about listening as it is speaking. The most effective communicators spend more effort truly understanding others than they do making themselves understood. They ask thoughtful questions, they confirm understanding and demonstrate they've actually absorbed what's being shared rather than waiting for their turn to talk. Beyond the words themselves, professional communication demonstrates emotional intelligence and respect for others. This means recognizing when an impersonal email is inappropriate and a face-to-face conversation is needed, or sensing when someone needs feedback, or when they need encouragement, or both, and knowing the difference between the two. And it's maintaining composure during difficult conversations rather than reacting impulsively. You also need to adapt your style to different audiences without losing authenticity. The way you explain concepts to technical team members will differ from how you present them to clients or to investors. Now, this flexibility isn't being disingenuous. You're respecting others enough to communicate in ways that resonate with their perspective and their needs. I remember a meeting where a client abruptly criticized a proposal my team had worked on for weeks. A colleague lost his temper, he became defensive and confrontational. The relationship never recovered. Professional behaviour doesn't mean you can't advocate strongly for your ideas, but it does mean doing it with self-control and respect. The professionals who excel here can disagree without being disagreeable. They challenge ideas without attacking people and maintain relationships even during difficult conversations. This pillar extends to your professional presence, how you carry yourself, how you dress appropriately for your context, and maintain composure even in challenging situations. This isn't superficial, you're showing respect for the context and the people you're engaging with. The professional who dresses appropriately for their industry and situation isn't just following arbitrary rules, they're demonstrating awareness of and respect for their environment. The fifth pillar is how you work with others and your approach to teamwork, collaboration, and leadership. This is the whole basis behind the power of organizations. Your ability to work effectively with others, whether that's employees, clients, partners, or even suppliers, that is crucial to sustainable success. Effective collaboration doesn't mean being pleasant more than actively contributing to collective results. So you need to understand how your work impacts others. You need to coordinate effectively and be responsive to the needs of the team. You must find the balance between asserting yourself and being receptive to others' perspectives. Those who do well here don't just participate in teamwork, but they make everyone around them more effective. Supporting colleagues goes beyond just helping when asked. Instead of hoarding expertise, you proactively share knowledge that might benefit others. You recognize when someone needs guidance without making them feel inadequate, and you provide constructive feedback that genuinely helps them improve instead of criticizing or offering empty praise. You also share credit because you focus on common goals rather than personal agendas, because when the team succeeds, everyone benefits. I've watched professionals with average technical skills rise rapidly in organizations and industries because they excel at building relationships and collaborating effectively and in bringing out the best in those around them. This isn't about manipulating others or playing politics. They're genuinely creating value through how they work with and for others. On the other hand, I also see ambitious, albeit misguided people who do the exact opposite. And this happens way too often. They refuse to share knowledge with colleagues, they hoard opportunities and undermine teammates to make themselves look better. These behaviors might seem like they create a personal advantage, but no one will want to work with such people. Worse than that, if they have any kind of role power, their behavior will ultimately destroy team culture and limit organizational success. Now, I intentionally said role power, not leadership, because leadership in this context isn't about formal authority. You must exercise influence regardless of your title through leading by example, taking initiative where appropriate, and maintaining a constructive attitude even when faced with challenges. The professional who can inspire positive action in others and navigate through obstacles while maintaining focus on important goals, they demonstrate leadership regardless of their position. So there you have it, the 5 pillars of professional behavior that can transform your business results and career trajectory: ethics, dependability, competence, communication, and collaboration. They're the essential elements that will determine whether you succeed in what you do or struggle to gain traction. So it follows that these aren't just good to know, you need to act on them. And the proper way to do that is to conduct an honest self-assessment across these 5 pillars. Where are your strengths? What could you improve? It doesn't have to be scientific or take you too much time, just be honest with yourself. You could also ask trusted colleagues or mentors about how you're perceived professionally. Sometimes what's obvious to others might be in our blind spots. Then, just repeat this simple strategy to improve. First, pick one specific professional behavior you'll focus on improving this month. Just one. We're not trying to solve everything overnight. And I'll give you an example in a minute. Next, decide what better looks like for you in this area and be specific, because vague intentions lead to vague results. Then identify 2 or 3 small actions you can take consistently to strengthen your behavior, and finally set a reminder in your calendar for a few weeks later to check your progress. You'll also decide whether you're going to work on it some more or move on to the next thing. So here's what all this could look like. You might feel you need to improve your communication skills. Perhaps you're not getting your message across as well as you'd like, or you're having some miscommunications here and there. You might identify a number of different ways in which you could improve both your verbal and your written communication, and you feel that learning to understand other people's communication styles can also help you adapt your delivery. Out of all of that, you decide to just focus on clarity and brevity in your written communication. So you commit yourself to getting better at this over the coming weeks. So for practice, you're going to spend some extra time when writing internal emails to anyone in your team. You decide to focus on getting to the point straight away. First line, because not everyone needs to know your reasoning, but for the benefit of those that do, you still include any relevant information after you make your ask or main statement. You're going to pay particular attention to concise phrasing and to eliminating unnecessary detail. You're also going to use simpler words. You know this will take you a lot of effort at first, as does every new skill or learned behavior. So you're going to give yourself some extra flexibility in your agenda for this first week or two. That's all. Sometimes it will be an even simpler exercise, other times you'll need to learn new things more formally and invest more time and effort. It depends on what you're going to focus on. Improving your professional behavior for business success is exactly what the Business Person Playbook is all about. On this channel, I'll be breaking down each of these pillars in greater detail, examining the practical challenges you'll face while trying to implement them, and providing actionable strategies that work in the real world. Whether you're struggling with maintaining ethical boundaries in competitive situations, or looking to improve your reliability without burning out, developing your competence in specific areas, refining your communication skills in different business contexts, or enhancing your ability to collaborate effectively with difficult personalities, I'll be covering it all. Each video will explore a particular aspect and offer concrete techniques you can implement immediately. I won't waste your time with theoretical models that sound good but don't translate to practice. Instead, you'll get practical advice that acknowledges the messy reality of business life while still holding to high standards. My goal is simple. It's to help you develop the professional presence that commands respect and creates lasting success, one specific behavior at a time. Remember that improvement is a habit, not a single event. Focus on consistently striving to embody these principles even when it's challenging. Over time, these small deliberate actions will solidify into the kind of professional presence that others respect and want to work with. So if you want more actionable advice for balancing personal growth with business success, click on the playlist link in the description below and consider subscribing to this channel. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.